So this is a rough schedule. So I'm gonna do a short lecture on humanoid mechs. I'm not gonna go into history because I don't really know history, but just what they are, their anatomy, the types of mechs, and whether they're a character or a prop. That's kind of an interesting thing to think of, and some questions to help you determine their form and function. In the demo segment, I'll show you how you can uh, turn human proportions into more mech proportions, because there are a lot of subtleties. And then we're going to practice some box drawings and some primitive form drawings, and then you're going to add details using only basic shapes, so you don't need to know how to draw, like, I don't know, a car or something to do this. And if we have time, I can do some drawovers, some critiques if anyone wants to. And yeah, that's pretty much the plan. So here's the short lecture I prepared. So before I get started, in the chat, I'm just gonna ask this question: what's a mech, or what's a humanoid mech design you find iconic or memorable? Alternatively, you can just say your favorite if you're like well versed in this. So yes, Avis, of course. So what is a humanoid mech? It's kind of a hard question to answer, honestly, but if you break it down artistically, I'd say, like, into big, medium, and small components. The big component would be, like, their overall read, like what kind of vibe they give off, or like specific specific characteristics, right? And then a medium would be joints, gimmicks, anatomy, function, or yeah, I should add anatomy. So I don't want to get into this debate too soon, but these are from a Western kind of like a game kind of setting. This artist does he's like the concept artist for id Software, so he does concept art for Doom and stuff. So you can see how these mechs have very prominent joints. And also the question I asked, feel free to put your answer in chat, like, while I'm speaking. I would love to know what everyone's like influences are. So yeah, you guys can keep doing that. While some other mechs, like a Gundam, there aren't actually that many like obvious mechanical joints in here. Like, you can maybe see, if I can do 2D. You can see like maybe some of this. It's like joint work, a little bit of this, but there's really not that many compared to, I don't know, like a mech from like Titanfall, where you can clearly see like huge mechanical portions. Like, this is all like mechanical. And then the last thing I'll say humanoid mech has are greebles, decals, and pretty much anything that that conveys to us that these guys are not like human sized. So I don't know, let me see a good example. So definitely Western mechs do this pretty well. Like, see, I'm gonna do red. These signs, like maybe these cylinders as well, they kind of show how the mech is made of many different pieces, and it is assembled through its components, which can be its anatomy. And yeah, you definitely, the greebles helps sell that it's a huge thing and not just a toy. While Gundams have a bit less greebles, and they're also kind of limited by their medium as well. And at the same time, you can say a Gundam's main function is to sell toys, so they're it's no wonder that they're designed kind of like a toy. But obviously, there are different spectrums. Okay. So that's a little bit about humanoid mechs. Okay, so I'd say one of the most interesting things about a mech is that they lie on a spectrum between character and prop. So imagine this is like a spectrum, right? Right here is 50%, and then it's like, yeah, there's a wide spectrum of mech designs. Some mechs are, the more prop they are, the more functional. So I don't know if you guys know this guy from like Avatar, the James Cameron Avatar, but like a mech like this, you would say it's definitely more of a prop because it's pretty functional. While something like Ava definitely falls more on the character side because it is definitely. I actually have I wrote something down here. Let me see. So I guess if something is a prop, it only serves a functional purpose and it doesn't really drive the story forward. While the Ava definitely drives the story forward in Evangelion. That is a bit of an understatement, if you ask me. So the rest of these guys fall somewhere along this spectrum. So, and the reason why I asked everyone's favorite mechs is that you can kind of pinpoint it along the spectrum to see, what kind of percentage like it is character to prop. So I'll say Transformer is like definitely somewhere here, probably even more. Yes, that'd be greatly appreciated. And then Gundam, I think a Gundam is a pretty good example. Oh, it is. My drawings are grouped. I don't know why. Yeah, that's one thing I hate about it. I think a Gundam is actually a really good ratio. I forgot how I wrote it down. A Gundam is 60% character and say 40% prop. I think that's a pretty decent ratio for a Gundam. That's why a Gundam feels more iconic than its like counterparts, like an Armored Core. Okay, Power Ranger Megazords. Let me see. Oh yeah, I had BT somewhere. I can't really find it now, but I do have a mech from Titanfall. I think this is like Ion Prime. I think this is a skin. So Titanfall mechs definitely fall more on the prop side. If I were to, does anyone want to try and guess what ratio Titanfall mechs are on this spectrum? Feel free to put your guesses. Then on the character side, I'd say definitely Gurren Lagann is like definitely a character, and Nightmares from Code Geass pretty close to Gundam, but I think they're more definitely more prop than Gundam. Kind of just throw them all together. I don't know if anyone's seen the new Gundam movie, but these guys are definitely more humanoid, so maybe slightly more on the spectrum. And then, yeah, Armored Core. This particular design might fall a bit more on this side if you know the story behind them. And the Jaegers are actually pretty close to Gundams, in my opinion, but they're also more prop. So, yeah, exactly. So I don't know if you noticed, there's no design that's exactly at 50-50. And if you have one at 50-50, it's pretty much like directionless. if it wants to be a prop or a character. So it's always a good idea to lean towards one or the other. Like some of these lean pretty hard. Like Ava is probably like 80-20 or 90-10 characters per prop, while one of these is like 95% prop and 5% character. So definitely lean towards one or the other. Now this spectrum also kind of indicates their function. So you can see how prop mechs are really, really functional. You can kind of tell what they do, right? So for example, this guy probably has some sort of crab / exploration. I think in the movie it's like some sort of harvester, but you can see, like, I obviously play the game, so I know what Ion does, but you can see, you kind of know, like, at a first glance, you can tell the very obvious function of this guy. Same with like Armored Core. It's like, oh, there are missiles. It's got songbirds, pile bunker, and a Scudner rifle. So like, I instantly recognize all these parts because I know what they do. So it's like, just right. Recognizable function. While on this side, it's like, okay, what does an Ava do? Like, it stops angels, but that's kind of vague. It fights angels, and you wouldn't really know it's like part. Sorry for spoilers. It's actually my Ava lore. I don't exactly remember, but like, I think they're like angels themselves. I think, is that what the lore is? And you also wouldn't tell. You don't know a Gurren Lagann like has freaking drills. It's like powered by like friendship and willpower. So you can see, like, the character mechs are more focuses on the character. It's like, how I say it? It's like personality, like development, or like character, because they're character themselves, so they also develop through the story. And the prop is more focused on function, readability, and yeah, guess that's all I would say for these. So, knowing what mech you want to design, whether it's a character or a prop, is very important. At the same time, the balance between these two are important in a way, like, the prop adds realism to the character, while the character adds personality to the prop, so it's not boring. So you always want a balance between the two. And lastly, I have some, these are some of the questions I actually like to ask myself. Well, this is definitely more like for a character. Let me just space this out because I copied it from Google Docs. So some very easy questions I like to ask. It's like, who manufactured this mech? Like, what kind of company they are? Like, are they like government funded? Are they a construction company? What their logo looks like? What are the uniforms like? Yeah, all this like background stuff. Also, functionally, what is the mech used for? What specific purpose? And where? So pretty much the 5 W's. Like, if you can figure out all these things, you pretty much have, you can conjure up a story for like the mech. And more like character related stuff is like, who is piloting this mech, for what reason? That's generally a pretty common trope, as well as why the mech was built. It's kind of similar to how is it used, but some mechs can have like a pretty extensive backstory to like how and why they're built. All right, so anyone have any questions or any inquiries? I know that was a bit of an info dump. Oh, the 5 Ws. 5 Ws, if I remember, is who, what, where, when, why. So if I were to break down, I don't know, let's see if okay. I don't know if everyone's seen Pacific Rim. The first movie was so good. But a Jaeger, I think, is similar to a Gundam. It's both a character and a prop. So I think this is a pretty good example. So the who built this, or who is this? Yes, exactly. The who is like pilot, and there are 2 pilots, right? I think the government built it. Where? So where is this thing is like designed for? So you can approach it from more general standpoint, but it's better to focus on like more functional things. So where is it supposed to fight? On the ocean, on land. So it needs to be versatile. And yeah, I am recording, so don't worry about it. Where, what? So what, it's like directly function. What is it supposed to do? It's supposed to fight monsters. As well, you can ask more questions based using what, but I feel like it could be it's best to simplify these things. Yeah, the first one is so peak. Do not watch the second one. The second one got rid of everything. It's good. That was good about the first one. When, it's like when it was built. Maybe you can even, I know they have like the different generations. Like what generation? And what, like the when is actually quite interesting. Like, does it use new tech? Or does it use old tech? So you can just ask a lot of questions and you can learn a lot about your mech that you want to design or one that you're a fan of, and this gives you a different appreciation. Yeah, exactly. Like, they struck such a good balance between making these things feel real and like also making them look cool. Lastly, why? It's like because humanity is on its last legs, or desperation, right? So after you do something like this, you definitely understand this mech better, and you can ask these same questions to your own mech. Like, you can make it really interesting and give it many layers of like lore and just interest. So that's what I would say. And yeah, feel free to ask the 5 Ws for your favorite mech and see how it stacks up. And I think the ones with more character in them will, like, it might be a little harder to find like function. For example, with an Ava, like, but it's, you might need to pull on more story elements, like story-driven elements. Like, I think I'm rewatching Gurren Lagann, and I don't think you can answer some of these for mech like Gurren Lagann. Okay, now on to the demo. Does everyone get, I hope there are no one that in complete confusion. So, for the demo, I'm going to show human proportion to mech proportion. So how do you make the switch? Like, what makes a mech a mech? Like, as I broke down the big, medium, small here, like the big are like armor, geometric shapes. It's got character, personality. Like that's like the big read. Let's focus on big and medium for now. So let's scratch out. Let's scratch this guy out. Yep, strike through. So I'm gonna draw myself. This is why I have the anatomy reference. It's just for myself. So you guys can follow along or just watch and I don't know, see if this is something that you've seen before. So, drawing a very standard human figure, rib cage, got 2 hands. So this is hopefully this is the most standard like human anatomy. Something like this. And if you know more anatomy, more power to you. So like if you know the rib cage is carved like this, then you have more insight onto how human is built. Same with the muscles and stuff. So if I translate this 1-to-1 to mech proportions, so let's say, actually I'll cover that later. So right now I'm sticking with the more kind of Gundam kind of mech. So let's see. So I'm dropping these lines so I can keep them pretty much using the same like proportions. Let's just make everything boxy and you can see like, yeah, it's got like a read of a robot, but it doesn't exactly feel like, I don't know, if you compare this proportion to like a Gundam, honestly this is one of my favorite references. If you guys are into Gunpla, like this inner frame, I think it's like one of the best inner frames. So if you compare this, like this doesn't really read like a mech like this. So how do we get closer? So one thing you could do is definitely break down the proportions of Gundam or any mech you're trying to do. So you can immediately see that they break some rules that are well established for figure drawing. Head and torso is only 30%, while the legs, pelvis, all this is like 70%. So that's one of the first rule breaks. Like, holy cow, that breaks so many rules. What the hell? And then it's also a lot wider. I think a normal human, I think they're probably wider than this. Let me see. they're about 3 heads across, but with a Gundam you can fit at least 4 heads, I think. At least 4 heads across. So knowing that, and one last thing that I'll add is that it is not for a robot. You would think, oh, a robot stands very rigidly, right? They stand with their arms to the side, legs straight, like this. And here's where we get to this diagram. It's a pretty nifty one I found a while back. Actually, let me get the translations. Wait, I put the translations somewhere. Yep, here it is. Translations for the Japanese text. So different directions or different gestures actually give your mech a different identity. So right now we're just focusing on Gundam, maybe a bit of Armored Core. But for Gundam, you can see how all the limbs, for one, are radiating like outwards from the center. Same with this, the little funnels. So a mech definitely has gesture, and that is really key to, yep, I will share that right now. The gesture is really key for a mech to feel like a mech. And it's even more important if you're making a character mech, like mech with that. And I'm gonna copy and paste the text as well. If you want to search some of these artists and some of these IPs up, do so yourself. Alright, now knowing that, I'm gonna draw my revised box man. So first off, 70-30, right? Then probably do something like this. Torso. We're still gonna get something similar, but I think you'll find that the proportions are like actually I don't want to pin the limbs. Shit. I know like the proportions are definitely a little more pleasing. I also do a 70-30 on the leg like this. Actually, I'm gonna give it a little more complexity here. Do like the underwear shape so the leg connects better. Something like this. And let me check on my previous attempt, see how close it is. Yeah, maybe let me just copy this. It's a previous attempt I did. Okay, don't really know why that appeared. Yeah, you can see how the fixed proportions. And one last thing, if you want to make your mech extra cool, is like definitely shrink the head. The smaller the head, the bigger it feels. So yeah, that's kind of like basics of like proportion. Remember someone asked last time, or the last mech lecture, like if it's a mech for animation, like what it should focus on. Definitely like proportion is like number one, right? So you might think, oh, this is like, we're just drawing boxes. This is so basic. But here's where it gets interesting. So from last time, you have 3 primitives, or 3 shapes, shape language. There's square, circle, triangle, and then within them, I don't know, square, circle is like cylinder, into cones. This is like cubes, circle, or sphere. So once you translate this in 3D, as well as what if you start replacing shapes, like, be a little hard to do here, but I don't know, like make the chest extra skinny while still maintaining the proportions, and make the legs like this, like wide, make the arms even wider. Like, wow, that's a completely different mech now. It's like, oh, I don't really like how big the head is. Shrink it. It's like, cool. You have infinite. There's an infinite. Oh, there's an infinite possibility. Infinite combinations. Okay. So let me just group this. Last thing I'm gonna do, as I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna be drawing a lot of boxes. So how do you translate this into 3D? Because I'm guessing most of you here wants to draw a mech in 3D. So this is where we get to good old blocks. So I call this like parallel box. So if you're not comfortable with drawing boxes, I would definitely start off with this one. So these guys, there is no vanishing points. Everything is completely flat. It's kind of a cousin to the isometric box. Let me just find it real quick. Isometric grid. I do this sometimes, and with this grid it helps you like draw perspective free while keeping the structure. Also allows you to like draw curves as well. So probably want to measure this out. Bad thing is this perspective is not as common, so it might look a little weird. So just turn this on. And of course you have the perspective box, which is one thing I like to do is keep the ground flat, then do something like this. So I just know this part is completely flat. Draw a little bit of extra stuff here. And when you're drawing in perspective, you could do a rough gesture first. Since I've indicated the ground is flat, the legs will be rested completely flat. Now I will just put in my boxes. And when you do this, try to make your proportions very interesting using just boxes, because you can do so much. All right. While I do this, you guys can give this a try if you want to. I'll start like a timer for like 10-20 minutes. So I'll recommend step 1. Definitely start with like front on orthographic view, like so. Try to turn this into something more interesting. And step 2, try some of the box stacking kind of method. And feel free to take a bit of time to practice drawing boxes, just as practice. All right, let me know if you have any questions. And I'll start the timer. So the question is step 2 drawing boxes in perspective. So these boxes, it kind of depends on your comfort level, right? So if you're not comfortable drawing in 3D, I would stick with the parallel box or the isometric. If you're comfortable doing perspective, do the perspective. But step 2 is just turning it 3D. This is 2D, you turn it into 3D. That's step 2. No problem. If you have a favorite mech, you can try and emulate their proportions with just boxes. That's, yeah, bonus. Simplify, yes, simplify. Simplify your fave. Humanoid mech. 2 boxes. Boxes, since you can construct any other shape out of boxes, it does not hurt to do it on boxes first. But if there are obvious shapes, like if your mech is obviously inspired by circles, then it kind of depends, honestly. Boxes is definitely just safest though. I would recommend you stick to boxes. So there's like a progression here. You kind of progressed from a parallel box. So the question is, do you have any tips for improving your drawing in perspective? So in the parallel box, your number 1 objective, or your only objective, so keep the lines parallel. If you can't do that, then you're definitely not going to draw in perspective. Like, it's just a practice and like muscle memory thing. So when you do a box, just hyper focus making sure the lines are parallel. That's it. And I'd say drawing a mech isn't really about perspective most of the time. Most of the time it's actually just about orienting stuff, like just knowing, does it face you from the front or face you from the side, or is it slightly turned? I'd say that's just understanding things in 3D, and it's not, that is like a subset of perspective, but it's not about vanishing points, and like it's definitely about focal length, but yeah, not about vanishing points. How much human anatomy? The question is, how much human anatomy knowledge would you need to design a mech? Honestly, I'd say not that much, but the more you have, the easier. And there is a lot in common, so you definitely, it does not hurt to know human anatomy. Wait, I'm gonna try and make my own here. No problem. So, step 1, I'm gonna make interesting proportions. That's step number 1. So, and one thing to not be afraid of is to iterate and mess up, because at least you would then know what you don't like. So I'm gonna try something wide this. Give this guy really high shoulders. Okay, that looks pretty cool. This is also where you can play with basic shapes. So in the 2D plane, it's very easy to play with silhouette and shapes. Yeah, that's fairly cool. But I think more options. Oh shit. I think I set a 20-hour clock and it's not 20-minute. Whoops. That is hilarious. We'll be drawing boxes till Kimo ends. Nice. It looks pretty good, Ran. Do you want me to do a quick draw over on it? Alright. So maybe you guys will also learn some quick Clip Studio Paint functions. Hope what I'm about to do is not complete magic. So you see I had this nasty white background. I click this brightness opacity and now it's transparent. Hooray. So this initial box you put down, it's kind of like, it's your guideline. So you want to make sure things are, well, I know I said to infuse gesture into your work. This first box is what you're basing pretty much everything off of. So definitely spend some time to make it like as good as possible. Can make a different color. And overall, I say the top half is actually pretty sound, but once you get here, this is where the perspective starts meddling in. So box, if I were to draw more details, as it gets to the bottom, you see how the lines, like, there's a gradient of how it slowly turns straight. Well, you don't have to be super strict about it. You have to be at least like 80% correct, in my opinion. So, first box. The head, you can definitely see the bottom. And you actually did the chest right. You can definitely see the bottom of the chest. But here, this pelvis, the line's starting to turn, so it's going to be a lot flatter. And then once you get to the legs, it's actually flat. So it might make a little more sense if you draw in complete parallel perspective, and I promise you it's equally as cool and like with none of the hassle. So really trying to sell you on a parallel perspective. But like, if you just, especially if you're not super confident in perspective, which you should totally practice and get better at the same time, from a pure like design perspective, I really don't think you're missing out on much if you just draw like parallel. Wait, maybe I'll shape this. It's better understanding. Yeah, something like this. But going back. Come on. Here. Then, since this is slightly up, like so, if you transpose this like across, it's going to be like so. And I saw you add a bit of tilt. I don't know if that's intentional, but a tilt actually makes it more aggressive, which is, it's a great idea, to be honest. Something like this. Yeah, overall, I think you did a pretty good job. So, you can definitely keep using this. Because after this, we'll start adding some details, and it'll be a lot of fun. I just realized I actually did a bad job on this. See, I think I need to practice more parallel boxes, because like parallel boxes are very deceiving. And if you want to get better at constructing things, like just drawing parallel boxes, that takes care of like so much. See how much time I have left. 8 minutes. Okay. And also do a quick draw over on yours. tar bale, I think. See, the thing with these rough drawing is that same thing with life drawing. If you drew too small, if you don't think it's working out, like just starting again and getting that repetition in can be like invaluable. Like you don't have to stop at your first iteration. Yep. It's just a workout. There's nothing, you don't have to get emotional or like philosophical about it. Just do reps. It's just a rep. It's so with yours, tarball, not tarbell. I actually think your proportions are better here. Like this is better proportions than this. Like I don't know if it's intentional, but it has like a really nice like pyramid to it. And I like how the arms get bigger towards the bottom. Like that's a super neat like design or flow. And then it's got like a little telephone pole. But it's kind of like the fully coolie like mech. I don't know if you were going off of that. Yes. I watched it so long ago I barely remember anything, but that mech is something I do remember. Also the big legs, huge props to you. And you see I'm actually going like I'm kind of drawing the 2D shape first before I construct anything 3D. And that's because the silhouette is always paramount. And there's another thing I haven't showed. So what we've been doing, like building up the mech, it's kind of like a inside out approach. So inside out is like, oh, building a block at a time, like one block at a time. It's got like a reverse joint or something. Huge shoulders. So you're building one thing at a time. And then there's outside in approach. This is where it might be more fun for some of you, but it's also a bit harder because you take like a square brush or something and you're just going at the shapes, like go wild, like and then you can, if you're in Clip Studio, hit C, and you can carve, or you can erase with the same brush that you're drawing with. Super useful for concepting. With this approach, you're kind of carving the silhouette first. And then what I like to do is actually, I'm like a layer hater. So I'll just take this, cut this out, and I'll lighten it. And now I can draw over it. Like, it's like, oh, what does this blob mean? I guess it's like a chess piece. Okay, cool. Okay, I don't like how that's parallel. But, oh, what if it's asymmetrical? So both of these approaches can give you like different ideas. And I think they're both good. Yeah. It's just like sculpting, but with shapes. And you might think, oh, I can only do flat stuff with this. Not really. Like if you you know your silhouettes well, like if you've drawn enough things in 3D, you can actually pretty easily do this in 3D. And this is the OP part. I'm only using one color, right? Or one value. Oh, what if I add a second one? Now I can add like secondary detail while I'm doing this, and like play with secondary shapes. Like so. Then I switch between these, and then I can carve at the arms or something. Yes, C does let you erase. It is my most used button, pretty much. Yeah. Honestly, I'm thinking of doing a complete like overhaul of my shortcuts and like my brush managing. So, because with C, the erase function, the transparent function, I mean, like it makes erasers almost redundant, in my opinion. So I could just go for as much variety as possible. One other thing I like is that I like to use a really crappy brush, like a circle brush with no like size, no opacity, no nothing. And this is actually my favorite brush to like just like design with, because there's just no pressure to do things well. You just kind of going at it. So these are some fun ways for you to draw stuff. And lastly, this is a bit kind of even harder, but you can use like the lasso fill. Like the shapes you get with this is even crazier. Oh, sorry, one multiply. So I actually don't even know how to start. This is like an even harder version. I've been using this tool for a while, so. Yeah, something like this. Okay, the question is, when I'm silhouetting, am I thinking about the shapes at all? Or thinking about the shapes? Usually, I don't know if you guys have had this happen, but usually it's more like when you're drawing traditionally, you're drawing with a pencil. Like going back to my pencil. We use the pencil, you sketch really messily, and then you get some like accidental intersection of shapes. If you guys didn't know, you can change the blending mode here as well as your layer. And if you change to multiply in the brush, like every brush strokes makes things darker, so that it imitates the pencil more authentically. So I'm just doing some messy stuff. And I'm like, oh, I see a shape. Like, look at this. Look at this. This is so cool. Like, oh, like this shape flows into here. This is kind of my mindset for silhouetting. So I'm just trying to put down shapes that I can let my mind interpret later. So I'm not thinking that hard about it, no. But it serves the same purpose for me. And inside out and outside in, it's like they're not opposite sides of the spectrum, I don't think. Because when you do inside out, you can still like sketch the silhouette. You can still do like shape stuff, right? But you can still make it really messy. And when you do outside in, you can also still like go in with a line and draw the details that you need. So it's not like you're not picking a path. You're actually just using the tool that best fits you. And I think these two processes actually, I think when I do inside out, or like when I construct something from the ground up, I'm less experimental, but I'm more accurate with the shapes. And when I'm doing outside in and starting with silhouette, I'm actually more experimental. And shapes are cooler, but they don't make as much sense. So, but I think these two are meant to be mixed for the best result. Okay. Whatever. So, unfortunately, I only did one thumbnail. I'm gonna have to commit to this guy. It's gonna be epic. So next phase, next step. Okay. Sorry, actually I can't read your username because I have a streamer mode on. But your name starts with N, so I don't think you messed up with the parallel boxes. But what happened, I'll explain this real quick, is that I'm gonna have to show you this again. So there are 3 axes in 3D. This is X, Y, and Z axis. So your design, I don't think you're doing the parallel boxes wrong, but your boxes right now have no, how do I say it? It has no Z direction, so they're all just lined up the same plane, and this thickness is all the same. So if you were to, and you can draw through it, that's why drawing through stuff is so useful. You can draw through this and say, okay, it's clearly over. You do this, you can clearly tell this is thicker than this. So I don't think you're doing it wrong, it's just that, yeah, same. I do love the wide boy. And I think doing parallel boxes is definitely the right approach, but you just gotta vary the depth. So what's next is adding detail. So adding detail, you always want to follow the hierarchy of big, medium, small. It's like the Bible for design, pretty much. What we just did, the silhouette, right? Silhouette. Ooh. Both 2D and 3D. Like this is the big detail. Medium is usually something functional, anatomical, I guess I also like to put gimmick, which is also functional. Okay. So the way we're going to add detail to your basic forms. So let me just paste my guy here, and I'm just going to do a quick 3D version of him. If you guys don't mind. There's also a good chance to see how I approach things. So you can see this shape. There's a few ways to interpret it. I can interpret it like this. I can interpret it as like a bowl, or I don't know, something in between is like this. There's a piece here, like a sandwich, like an ice cream sandwich. I think I like the ice cream sandwich the most, so I'm gonna do that. So the front is like curved, but I think I'm getting a little too ahead of myself. But, and same with this piece, like what does the side look like? Does it look like this? Does it look like this? So that'll look a little different. It's gonna look like this instead of round. And if it's round, it's gonna look more like insect-like almost. So I think I like the box. And of course, silhouette is still very important. Sorry, I think silhouette. I think silhouette and gesture are like hand in hand. And a lot of times, if you do a lot of line art, if your line art doesn't look good, it's actually because the silhouette is off 99% of the time. Nothing to do with the lines. See, if I had a box, if I drew this out in boxes, it would actually be a little bit easier. See, when I'm struggling a bit to like let's just say something like that for now. So how would you add more complexity to this without any like prior knowledge of mech stuff, right? Like I've seen mech shows, I've drawn a lot of hard surface things, but how would you even do that without like a predisposed like visual library? So I think it's actually something really simple. It's just playing with square, triangle, and circle. Just playing with these three shapes. So, okay, starting off, what if I do something really simple? Like, I don't know, add this to this, it's like a bread loaf shape. But start adding this on all sides, and suddenly, oh, it's kind of interesting. Right? Oh, this is even more interesting now. And the trap you don't want to fall into is definitely doing this. Like, if you do something like this, they're all overlapped on top of each other. There's like 33% circle, 33% square, and 33% triangle. That's a no-no. And you want a big, and let's say my big is a circle, medium, square, small, triangle. So the majority of my shape will be circle, medium, do something like this, small, maybe a divot. This might not have enough variety. Okay, I have an idea. Just rounder. Okay. So how does this help, like, add detail? Like, what do you even do with this? This seems like some kids stuff. But just to watch this. So, what if you extrude this shape, like, into 3D? Actually, you can even do this. Duplicate the 2. Line. Come on. Oh, apologize. Lighten this one. And just connect it. And you see, wow, that's kind of interesting, right? And then you want to get nice. You get even crazier. So you can take the shape. You could do some fancy stuff like copy. Oh no. Okay, I guess I'll cut it out. You can take the shape, duplicate. You can, transform it like so. But if you want a challenge, I would definitely recommend starting with unfortunately, even if you didn't pick a square as your primary shape, you should always start with a box because you can construct everything from a box. So let's say I can construct this as a flat plane. And now I'm gonna lighten it. Okay. What's another way I can make this interesting? Well, I know. What if I add what if it's like something round? And wow, that's a shoulder armor. Cool. This can be like a shoulder piece. Or, I don't know, it can be like a knee piece. Or just, once you have this base, you can just go crazy, right? You can do I have another idea. What if I cut this? This comes out. And you can get pretty crazy. I think you can pretty much make unlimited things. And now it looks like a hat. And if I extrude it down, it's gonna look like a helmet. It's just giving you a lot of ideas. And Foza, this right here is kind of how you get stuff that's not a box. So I think if your mech right now is just boxes, that is completely fine. It's actually better if your mech is a box because you can construct things out of it. Okay? So most importantly, you want to know your rule that you set up for yourself. So it's that I want this my mech to be a circle first, rectangle second, triangle third. So all my shapes will follow that rule. And same thing, you start with a 2D. Now this time is abstract. I mean, always been doing abstract shapes. So abstract. So let's see. I think I'm actually going to do a capsule. Small, shape like this. I actually see a lot of potential in this. And then you turn the abstract shape 3D. So I draw a box like this. Alternatively, you can copy and paste. Control T, and for me, I hold Control and I can free transform. But this mode is actually free transform here, and now you can skew this into perspective. So this is also what I was talking about. This right now is in parallel perspective. There's no actual vanishing points. As soon as you do this, there's a vanishing point. Like, because these two are going to meet. But I would highly recommend keeping it in parallel so it's easier for you. I don't know why it's selecting both of them. Okay, here we go. Thank goodness. Let's say I can do this. Say, wow, that's interesting. That's like some sort of thruster, probably. You can extrude. This is the easiest. It's called extrude. You just extrude the profile, or you're just extending the profile of the shape. Like, just think of this like as like shapes just stacked on top of each other and just going to infinity. Like, that can be interesting. So after you do this exercise, like, it's now time to apply it to your mech. And it can definitely be very daunting. But I'm gonna draw over my own mech here, because this is actually not that good of a base to start. A good base to start with is always actually let me make sure I am recording. I've checked. For a lot of like YouTubers that forget to hit record when they're like streaming or something. So this step basics equals good. I can repeat this. I could do another example uh, of this step, because I know this step is a bit more abstract. But I'm just gonna go through my demo, like how to apply some of these shapes onto the mech, and then I'll start like repeating. So, I guess don't stress about it. Sit back and watch me struggle on this. So his head is a circle. Honestly, the shapes I put in does not even matter. It's mostly the proportions that matter the most here. So here's my funky looking guy. So let's say this is my abstract shape. I like this, and I like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. I like these, right? And okay, come on. Thank goodness for layer select, my best friend. So, same thing. We're gonna modify. It's the order of things. You modify silhouette first, and then you modify volumes, and then you do surface stuff. So what do I mean by that? So I think this part would go nicely on the chest. So I want to round this out. So you see, I'm breaking, the silhouette was like this, now I'm carving it flat. So that's what I mean by silhouette modification. So I want it to be round, like this. I want this to actually be more square, and do something like this because of this like insetting kind of shape. So this is also modifying the silhouette, but I'm not super worried about the fine details yet. Then so the pelvis is like a box. So okay, what do I want the pelvis to look like? I actually want the front to like curve in like so, then rear to remain boxy. So I'm gonna rough it in slightly, or just roughly, and I want the arms to get, oh, maybe there's a round shape on the arms. So it's gonna stay flat. That. I really like the shoulders a lot. It's a little rounder. And the face, it's a circle, but what if I want to break the silhouette to make it a bit more square? It's got like a little night visor. The top, like, what if I want like something more square? Actually, I should do it lopsided. That looks very nice. It's very nice tarball. Yeah, okay, I'm still recording. Just checking my recording. actually suck. You could also break the silhouette with like gesture. If you think certain flows you want to like exaggerate. Like, what if something just happened? And at this stage, it's also not too late to fix gesture stuff. So one other feature I love about Clip Studio is that I just mask it out. And masks go through multiple layers, so just going through all those rough layers. And since this upper part feels more like a knight, so now I'm like, oh, knight would be cool. And feels like I'm just making some changes according to that. And then, like, what if I add some bends to the arm? Okay, it's just up here. Okay. From a chef to a knight. What a journey. And now I'm gonna show you, like, on one part how I turn silhouette into volume. Let's see, probably the chest. So right now, like, this volume does not make any sense. So first, figure out like center shape. It's like this. But, oh, maybe that's not interesting. So, what if you do a cut like so? Now you're designing the volume, right? It's like, huh, what if there's like extra thing here? Sorry. I'm gonna answer a question from Foza. So, would you say in this phase it's more important to leave perspective as second thought and focus more on sketching interesting shapes? Yes, that's why I keep the perspective very simple. For example, the flat line down here. So the feet is always going to be flat. So that's the parallel perspective. So you can simplify perspective and focus on designing. And when you're designing, it's most important that you know how to draw a shape, like just a shape, especially a box, right? Because if you can draw a box, you can then cut into it. You can like round it. You can even change the silhouette of it. Like you can carve this so it's round. Obviously, once this is round, this can't stay a corner. Otherwise, that's like, it's an absolute mess. So with a box, once you change one side, you kind of change the other side, make it a box, like make it a rounded box. So the reason why you want everything in boxes is that so you can modify it, right? And some parts here, like, I don't have it in boxes because like my mind can kind of see the underlying form here. Like probably turn something somewhere like this. If I were to draw it as a box, then the box is gonna look something like this. So the more boxes you draw, the better you can like visualize it like beforehand. So boxes are like the basis for everything. And yeah, that's why I draw the boxes. And also like going back to like the abstract shapes, like these shapes are just here to help you. Don't stress over it. like all the exploration I did here is just so I have some fresh ideas on how to turn the boxes in here into something cool like here. So these shapes have given me a lot of ideas, and now I've arrived at something that that is like interesting. And also a good thing is that you're not really like I guess it'll be easy if you like really like a certain mech and you start like you study like the Evangelion Unit 1 a lot, and you know its forms, so you put the forms of Eva Unit 1 everywhere. Or White Glint. It's very iconic. Like, I'm sure, even like Armored Core 6, some of the parts are just straight up White Glint inspired. So, like, that could pose a problem. Like, if you want to design something unique, but you really like those mechs, and you can't really find a way to like tastefully like pay homage to them, you're just gonna end up like copy or like regurgitating their designs. So through like designing abstract shapes, like this thing doesn't look like any mech like in particular, or like this round thing is like just something abstract. This way you're like getting inspired by just abstract things, and in turn it'll make your mech a little more original. So just gonna finish out this guy. And also in terms of difficulty, I say the head, chest, shoulders, pelvis is all like easy, while the arms, legs, feet are a bit harder. So I don't know if any of you built Gunpla, but like for me the chest, head, especially chest and head, is like the first thing you build first. So like, and there are like there's only one piece of them, so you don't have to repeat it, right? So but with the arms and legs you have to repeat them, so it's like a little more pressure. It's like psychological warfare. And while you're drawing, don't ever be afraid to change the proportions, to try different things, and yeah, just experiment and have fun. Because you're drawing giant robots, damn it. May as well have fun. Alright, that's pretty much the second part of the lecture, and we have like 30 minutes left, so from now on it's all Q&A, and like anyone who wants critiques, I can probably draw over some of your stuff, and let me know if you have any questions. I feel like there's something I can definitely do with the shoulder. Let me round it down like this. One thing you can always do is like make the head smaller and move it further back. That always makes it look more epic. We're starting with silhouette. So walking fridge. That would be my pleasure. I actually really like what you did. It's very didn't you say it? I would disagree. I think they have plenty of interest. So let me cut this. Come on. So I'm just gonna do it fairly small. So I actually think this silhouette is actually so cool. Like, I don't know, I'm like quite bound by like tradition, so everything I designed is like in the Gundam realm, but the fact that you didn't give him a neck and just have like this here is like super cool. One thing you could do, like we did talk about, if you want to make them even more imposing, just actually combine them. Make them even more imposing. You could like shrink this down. Let's see. I think I'll squash it. Let me just think what direction I want him to really be imposing in. Because unfortunately there is diminishing returns. If you make everything big, nothing's big. So you have to pick some parts to make small. So then I think I found a prime candidate. So I'll make him have like tiny arms. He's just gonna be a walking freaking tank. Maybe then I kind of like the I kind of like the skinny legs, like almost like a coffin shape. So sometimes you might realize like the interesting parts of your mech might actually be like the weirdest, and because it's weird, it's like interesting. Should have gone. I think I got two. Starts looking too like normal when I start drawing over. So I think I'm gonna keep something like that. We make it 3D. I see you're doing parallel perspective, so I will honor that. So you can actually set like a line direction. Like, okay, these are my parallel lines. I would advise not using a ruler in Clip Studio or anything. So first, you want to take this silhouette and kind of paste it like just want to paste it like in the direction like this. So you can see, okay, this guy is gonna be pretty wide. His arms go like this. Well, it is a bit tricky. It's like, oh, like there is no there's no like depth. There's actually a relatively easy way to like get proportions going and like 3D dimensionality going. now I'll try this again. Probably just like dust it a little one more time. And this is also where your thinking starts to come in. It's like, I see this shape here. Does it, since you can't see it on the front, it's like, does it come out a little like this? Come out? Oh, that'll make a pretty cool helmet. But I feel like there are some cooler ways I can go about it. Like, what if it's like a separate part? Or if the shoulders come in like so. And there's like a receding part to it. One useful trick I do is like, I'll just tone the back leg like this, or like the back limbs, so my mind doesn't focus on them as much. Like I can just do this one and then mirror it, or like just copy the details over. And as always, keep your lines parallel. There's also where you can think about flow. A bit more about flow. Also, don't forget, you do have a third axis here. Almost forgot. You want some more gesture in the arms, just pose it in a more gestural way. I would say like it is a little hard to pose in with like parallel perspective, especially something like this. Like if you were to like pose the legs out, it is a little awkward because you're like seeing the bottom of it. I actually don't really mind. See the bottom of it. Like, designing in 3D really like, I think it just gives me a lot of like ideas, because when you're doing it in 2D, you're just kind of getting a rough idea of the proportions. But in 3D is where you can really play with like details and stuff. So it's just a lot of fun. Those comments are more bulky. And then of course get to the best part. It's like, what does this guy's face look like? So like something like this. And like I talked about, you can, unfortunately, well, I don't like wasting prior drawings, but this basic silhouette that you have here is kind of meant to be broken afterwards to add interest. So you see how this is a really good start, but all these basic silhouettes are meant to be elaborated upon. So you have like a round like thing like this. Looks a little weird. Or does he have more like a helmet? I think a mohawk would look really nice on this guy. To be honest, a mohawk, and then just like they paste it on face that doesn't turn at all. but you have to figure out some cool stuff here. Yeah. And in Mechs, silhouette and edges, like, while this is like the primary silhouette you see, right? It's on the outside. This silhouette, like this thing, and like this, and like these silhouettes, oh, especially this one, like this chest silhouette, these are like just as important, because like if I erase this and I really puff out the chest, like that's pretty massive. Like that's a pretty massive change, right? So overall silhouette's important. The inside silhouettes are just as important. So nothing that extreme, I don't think. I'm not gonna go with something that extreme. But something like this could be cool. Underside, this. Yeah, like stone mech would be super cool. Maybe it's like a walking kind of temple, and you can like go inside to explore or something. And you can add more complexity to the shoulders, like add like a little piece like this, like just basic stuff. Like I just added like a cylinder pretty much, but it's looking so much cooler. And just keep adding and compounding these basic details, and what do you know, you have a really cool design. And of course, you can always tweak stuff. Don't be afraid to, like, what at the front. Now it's cooler if he has like less gaps in his armor. Like this guy's a freaking walking fridge now. Like an actual fridge. And of course you can go look at fridges. And like this exercise was born from an exercise I did where you kind of copy you take inspiration from objects in real life, and you take like their abstract components and you turn them into shapes you use for your drawings. But I think something like this is actually more fun to just see what you can come up with instead of relying on like references, because I'm pretty sure many people have done a fridge mech, but I don't think many people have done the fridge mech that you will come up with your own shape library. So in a way, that's cooler and more unique than just going with a fridge on like Google Images or something like that. So yeah, that helped. All right. Novahedron. I feel like did you do this macro chroma core? I feel like I've seen it. Nice. Nice. Which one do you think you struggled with more, like the 3/4 or the front on? Probably the 3/4, right? I think I'm gonna do the 3/4. So while you have like, you definitely have perspective on this. This is definitely a perspective piece. You could simplify, you can just simplify it by just drawing a box over it. Like, let's say, this is kind of the reverse, where you see more of the legs, less of the head. So you just, let's say the perspective completely nullifies like up here. Like up at the head, no perspective, down the feet, a lot of perspective. And it's usually one or the two. Like people don't usually, unless you're like going for an insane scale where you have like, we have like this crazy perspective. So as always, you just start by the basic shapes. So first thing I see is like this, but this doesn't, like the torso or pelvis area doesn't really match up. So I'll just fix that connection real quick. Something like this. And you can actually cheat this. Make him look straight at the audience, like so. At the same time, you can like probably cheat this. And now you're like dealing with shapes. You're just dealing with shapes. It's like you don't really have to worry too much about like perspective anymore. So just like that, it's like there's so many cheats. Like this leg, I think you did a very valiant effort of like figuring out, you know, the forms. I'm pretty sure mech artists will literally just do this. They'll do this, make it a straight on leg, and call it a day. Like that's it. That's all you're gonna get. But it works. And they'll probably keep this leg the same. And then this is what I'm talking about when I say drawing mechs is less about perspective but more just about orientation. And then, you know, add a bit of gesture to the spine. And obviously I think like this leg is very much mechanically correct, and this pose would work. This pose would work if the face kept facing this way, but my mech drawing bias just tells me to do this. So yeah. So to recap like the cheats I used here, like definitely making this leg face forward, just face forward, and this one face this way. It makes it like a really menacing stance. And then just pointing the head forwards turns it completely graphic, so you don't even have to worry about like, you're just going after like cool shape reads at that point. It's like should be pretty easy. And then this arm just shifting a little so the silhouette looks cool. And I think yeah, just these changes will make it like read better. And I think the chest piece should stay 3/4. If you want, you can add a little more funk to it, like you can make the spine curve more, and no. don't want to flatten the piece too much, but just moving it down slightly. Yeah, something like that. Overheating Sing. I believe I didn't make the leg straight to be able to show the backwards bend on the joint. So I think with Mechs, it's definitely just knowing what angle looks cool. So I definitely agree with you. The backwards bend is very pivotal. But here, since viewers can see this leg, they kind of automatically like it makes sense in their brains that this leg is like forward. Like you already have context for this bent leg, so this leg making it straight is like pretty standard. In terms of like different views, I know front view surprisingly is like one of the hardest things to draw for mechs. Like 3/4 is like heaven, but front is like, oh my goodness, it's like so much hell. And at that point, it's just pure silhouette. Like, does the silhouette read? Does it not? If it reads, just go ahead with it. So if I were to help you design this leg, so it's literally just plain stacking, just stacking things. Something like that. That's how I would go about it. So I just stacked this piece on top of the cylinder, and then I completely foreshortened like this part into like nothing, and then I just showed the curve here, and then this thing is really, this right here is really interesting, so I kept that, and I don't exactly know the internals, but you could do something like this. And that's why a lot of mech artists also do like black shading, so you can like completely black shade these parts and just null and void any need to like elaborate. So yeah, that's, hope that helps. And unfortunately, I think that is timed up. So I have recorded this thing. I will post it in the club, and I will also gather everything I've done here, including the drawovers, and post it in the club as well. So no problem. Thank you all for coming. And any last minute questions, feel free to ask. And yeah, thank you so much for attending.